Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a book that has truly struck a chord. I mean, really gained traction everywhere. It's Brianna Wiest's The Mountain Is You, transforming self-sabotage into self-mastery. You've probably seen it around, huge on social media, and, get this, over 42,000 five-star reviews on Goodreads. So our mission here is to really unpack why we often feel like our own worst enemy and how this book offers a really profound shift in thinking about that. Have you ever felt that? Like you're the one holding yourself back even when you really want to move forward?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a feeling almost everyone can connect with, right? And this deep dive, I think it's going to shed light on core idea in the book that makes you really reconsider what that mountain you think you're facing actually is. It's not just about, external stuff. It's much deeper, internal. We'll definitely get into the practical insights, but there's some real aha moments here too, things that can fundamentally change how you see self-sabotage.
Okay, let's get right into it then. Brianna Wiest proposes something pretty radical in The Mountain Is You. She basically says that the mountain you think is blocking your dreams, maybe your job, your past, whatever circumstances, isn't actually out there.
Yeah.
It's you. It's your own self-sabotage. Now, when you first came across that idea, how does she explain that things like, say, procrastination or staying in bad relationships, how are those not just character flaws?
Yeah, that's really the core of it and where the power lies, I think.
Yeah.
Wiest argues self-sabotage isn't just random, destructive behavior. It's actually your brain's maladaptive way, meaning it's trying to help, but it backfires.
Uh-huh.
It's trying to meet some kind of unmet need. It's like a misguided attempt to shield you from discomfort or maybe fulfill something deeper like a need for freedom or a fear of being abandoned. And reframing it like that is just, well, it's incredibly powerful. It shifts things from blaming yourself to actually understanding the mechanics underneath. It makes you ask, okay, what is this behavior really trying to do for me, even if it's not working?
Right. So it's not a flaw, it's a strategy, just
Yeah.
a bad one. Okay. So if the mountain really is us, then the big question is how are we tripping ourselves up? And more importantly, how do we stop? Wiest has some really sharp insights. One that jumped out at me was comfort is the enemy, which
Mhm.
sounds wrong, doesn't it? We all want comfort. But what if our attachment to what's familiar is the real trap?
Exactly. It's counterintuitive, but it makes so much sense when she unpacks it. Humans, we're sort of wired to seek comfort, to stick with the known. We resist change, even good change, just because familiar feels safe. And that's why we sometimes cling to situations that are, frankly, miserable but predictable. Think about a job you hate or a relationship that's clearly not working. It's known. Wiest argues our brain often prefers that known discomfort over the complete unknown of change, even if that change could lead to something way better.
That resistance, that pull towards the familiar, it leads right into another key idea she talks about, core commitments.
Mm,
Can you explain what those are? Why are they so important for understanding why we self-sabotage?
absolutely. So we like to suggest that underneath pretty much every bad habit, every pattern where you shoot yourself in the foot, there's a subconscious vow, a core commitment you've made. These aren't things you decided consciously. They often form way back, maybe childhood, based on experiences. It could be something like, I absolutely need everyone to like me, or I must avoid failing no matter what. Or even, if I succeed too much, it'll be overwhelming so I can't. Things like that. And identifying these deep hidden commitments is just crucial to figuring out why you do the things you do that hold you back. Think about, like you said, procrastination or avoiding a tough conversation. Wiest would say it's rarely just laziness. It's probably tied to one of these hidden vows, like maybe a fear of criticism, which links back to needing to be liked.
Yeah. Okay, so finding these commitments, that obviously means facing change, real change. And Wiest is very upfront that this isn't easy. She has that line, your new life is going to cost you your old one. That sounds pretty daunting, maybe even lonely. Does she talk about how to handle that shedding of the old self?
She does, and she doesn't sugarcoat it. She's very frank. Healing, growing. It often does mean losing things, maybe people who aren't on the same path anymore. It means shedding old identities that just don't fit, letting go of those false comforts you've leaned on. She calls it brutal. And yeah, it can feel that way, but she insists it's ultimately liberating. It's about making space,
Mm.
accepting that some things, some versions of yourself have to fall away for the new you to emerge.
And going through all that, our emotions are obviously going wild. Wiest has this great point. Emotions are data, not destiny. But she takes it further than just thinking about feelings, right? Can you explain that? How does she suggest we actually work with emotions physically?
Yeah, this is a really key part of her approach. She emphasizes flushing out stuck emotions, things like guilt, anxiety, resentment. not just analyzing them in your head, but actually processing them physically. She argues these feelings get stored in the body, literally. And to release them, you need more than just talk therapy sometimes. This is what she calls somatic work. It could be things like breath work, specific types of movement, even just intentional stillness. Ways to engage your body to actually process and release those emotional blocks. So feelings become signals, data points to work with, not, things to just suppress or be overwhelmed by.
Okay, so considering all these deep, sometimes challenging ideas, what is it about The Mountain Is You that makes it resonate so much? You mentioned the reviews. What's the magic ingredient?
Well, I think a big part is how accessible it feels, the writing style. Wiest writes like a wise friend maybe, someone who gets it but isn't going to coddle you. And there's no jargon. It's very direct, clear. It feels like she's talking right to you about your specific struggles sometimes.
Yeah, it really does feel personal. And it's definitely not just a comforting read, is it? It's very action-oriented.
Yeah.
This isn't a book you just passively consume. How does it push you to actually do something?
Right. It actively gets you involved.
Yeah.
Wiest pushes you to actually list out your specific sabotaging behaviors.
Yeah.
Like, are you a perfectionist? Chronically disorganized? Do you put yourself down constantly? And then she challenges you to trace those behaviors back to the deeper stuff, the mental or emotional deficiencies, as she calls them. Things like low self-trust or that fear of criticism we mentioned, or maybe an inability to just sit with uncertainty. It gives you a real framework for self-analysis, for connecting the dots between what you do and what you believe deep down.
And there's another layer, too, which I really appreciated. It has this mythic depth. It taps into that whole Joseph Campbell hero's journey idea, framing this inner battle not just as self-help, but as this epic quest for self-mastery. It
Mhm.
kind of elevates the whole struggle, makes it feel more meaningful, like your personal fight is part of something bigger. Heroic, even.
Definitely gives it weight. Now, keeping it real, like we always do, no book is without its critics. And The Mountain is a part of the real. It does have some common criticisms. One is that it can feel a bit repetitive.
Yeah.
Did you get that sense at all?
I can see where people are coming from, yeah. Some of the core concepts are so central that she does revisit them, reframes them across different chapters. For some, that might feel repetitive. For others, maybe it's helpful reinforcement. Depends on the reader, I guess. Another point I've seen is the science light critique. While she touches on psychology, neurology, people looking for, lots of footnotes and hard scientific studies might find it a bit lacking in empirical backing.
That's fair. And then there's this interesting point about glow-up fatigue, which honestly I found quite refreshing about her take. Wiest specifically calls out the superficiality you see everywhere, like those perfect Instagram transformations. She really emphasizes that real change. It's messy, it's hard work, it's not just about looking good or achieving some perfect aesthetic. She's focused on the deep internal shift, not just the surface stuff, which feels like a needed counter message these days.
Absolutely. So bottom line, our verdict, I'd say The Mountain Is You is absolutely worth your time if you're genuinely ready to dig deep into self-mastery. It seems perfect for anyone who feels like a chronic self-saboteur stuck in those frustrating loops. Or if you're facing a big life mountain, career change, heartbreak, burnout, you name it. And maybe even if you liked books like Atomic Habits, but you're craving something with more emotional depth, to understand the why behind the habits.
Totally agree. But on the flip side, you should probably give it a miss if you're looking for quick fixes or easy answers. This book is really about inner excavation. It demands that you're willing to look inward honestly and do the work. It's not light reading for a light change.
Well said. And it leaves you with that really powerful core message, tying it all up. You don't overcome the mountain, you become it.
Thinking back on this deep dive, it's really striking how understanding self-sabotage as this internal mountain, as part of you, can just fundamentally shift how you approach growth. It stops being about fighting an enemy out there and becomes about understanding and maybe integrating a part of yourself.
Right. And that leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? If these self-sabotaging behaviors are actually like really misguided attempts to meet needs, how does knowing that truly change how you approach self-compassion? And what does it really mean to become the mountain in your own life? To integrate those parts you used to battle against, how does that change the journey to self-mastery? Something to really chew on. We'd encourage you, listening, to think about what your own core commitments might be, those subconscious vows that might be driving some of your patterns. Just identifying them, as one Wiest suggests, could really open up new ways to understand yourself and maybe start climbing your own mountain differently. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparks some continued exploration for you.